50 years of pain, one moment of awakening. If you enjoy stories like this, please kindly subscribe to this channel. I make many more like it. Thank you, truly. Have you ever whispered to yourself, why is life so unfair? Why do the good suffer, while the wicked seem to thrive? But what if pain wasn't a punishment, but an invitation? What if the thing you fear the most is actually your greatest teacher? What if suffering wasn't the end, but the beginning of something sacred? This is the story of Elias, a humble shoemaker, a gentle soul, a man who loved his family, and lost his only son to the river one afternoon. He shouted at the sky. He fell to his knees. He asked the Buddha, "Why would you take my son from me?" But the answer didn't come. Not in words, not in signs. It came in silence. Until one day, an old monk arrived. He said nothing, except, "Come with me, if you truly wish to understand." And so began a 49-day journey into the depths of sorrow, into the root of grief, into the seed of awakening. If you've ever lost someone, if you've ever blamed the heavens, if you've ever wondered what your suffering means, then this story is for you. Because sometimes the pain you carry was sent to break you open just enough for the light to enter. His name was Elias. He lived in a quiet village, tucked between mountains and mist. A humble shoemaker, a father, a man who believed in kindness and karma. Each morning, before opening his workshop, Elias lit incense and whispered a prayer before the little Buddha statue his grandfather gave him. He believed in good. He believed good people would be protected. But life had other plans. It was a Sunday. His 6-year-old son, Noah, had gone down to the riverbank with friends. They played, laughed, chased butterflies by the rocks. Until one wrong step, one slippery edge, and Noah was gone. The river didn't wait. It swallowed him whole. By the time the villagers found him, he was still. Elias didn't cry, not at first. He just sat there, holding the small, cold body, staring at the water. That night, he smashed the incense bowl. He threw the Buddha statue across the room. He fell to the floor and screamed, "What kind of God takes a child? What sin did I commit to deserve this?" His wife tried to hold him, but Elias was already drifting into a darkness she couldn't reach. Days passed, then weeks. Elias stopped eating. He stopped working. He stopped speaking. Every night, he sat before Noah's photo, eyes hollow, heart crushed, until one morning, a stranger arrived. An old monk, with robes faded from decades under the sun. He said nothing at first, just stood at the door. Then finally, he spoke. "If you want to understand why this happened, come with me." No promises, no comfort, just a quiet offer to walk into the unknown. Elias followed. The monastery was silent, high in the mountains, far from any village, far from distraction. The monk's name was Ajahn Varun. For the first 3 days, Ajahn made Elias sit on a stone bench, under a Bodhi tree, not to chant, not to pray, just sit, just watch his pain. Day after day, Elias cried. Then he stopped crying, then cried again. Memories of Noah flooded him. The first time he walked, the way he said, "Papa," the silly dance he did before bed. And still, John said nothing. On the seventh day, John brought him to a cemetery. Rows and rows of nameless graves. Tiny stones. So many children. Elias broke. He fell to his knees and wept. But John only asked, "Do you think you are the only one?" Elias couldn't answer. On day 20, John handed Elias a stack of letters, written by parents around the world who had lost a child. Each one raw, painful, aching with sorrow. Yet in every letter was a seed, a lesson, a surrender, a silent strength. On day 35, John said, Write your entire life story. The fears you carry, the anger you hide, the guilt you've buried." And Elias wrote, pages and pages, until his hands shook, until his tears blurred the ink, until he realized he had never faced himself before. On the 49th day, John sat beside him, silently, as the morning sun warmed the stone floor. Finally, he asked, "Do you still curse the heavens?" Elias looked up, tears in his eyes, voice trembling. "No, now I bow, because what I thought was cruelty was actually a calling. Pain didn't destroy me, it revealed me. Pain is not the enemy. It's the teacher, the one no one wants, but everyone needs." In the Buddha's first teaching, the Four Noble Truths, the very first truth is dukkha, suffering. It is real, it is constant, it is inevitable. But what we often forget is that suffering isn't punishment, it's a mirror. When we suffer, we see who we truly are, how we respond, where we run, what we cling to, what we fear losing most. For Elias, the death of his son shattered him, but in those broken pieces, he found the parts of himself he had long forgotten. He remembered how much he loved, how much he feared, how little he truly controlled, and in the quiet, he heard truth. Suffering is sacred. It humbles the ego. It awakens the heart. It teaches the soul. There is an old Zen saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." The world doesn't change, you do. You begin to see beauty, even in pain, purpose, even in loss, not because pain becomes less painful, but because your heart becomes more open. Ask yourself now, have I ever thanked my suffering? Have I ever looked at it not as a curse, but as a gift? What if the worst thing that happened to you was the very thing that will awaken you? What if your heartbreak was the crack through which your soul could finally breathe? There is a lotus flower that only blooms in the muddiest waters. No mud, no lotus. So if you're standing in the mud right now, don't rush to escape. Be still, breathe, observe, and ask the question that could change everything. What is this pain trying to teach me? If you're still here, I know you've carried pain, too. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you're grieving a dream. Maybe you've smiled every day, but cried every night. And maybe, like Elias, you've asked the question, why me? But let me ask you something different. Why not you? Why not you? to become the light for someone else still lost in the dark? Look around. So many people are suffering silently. They wear masks. They hide scars, just like you once did. But here's the truth. When you heal, you don't just heal yourself. You heal generations. You heal others watching you. You heal someone who may never have the courage to speak their pain aloud. So today, don't run from your suffering. Don't numb it. Don't bury it. Sit with it. Breathe with it. Bless it. Because buried inside it is wisdom, compassion, peace. You were not sent here to have a perfect life. You were sent here to awaken, to remember, to rise, to return to the truth of who you are. And if this story, even just a sentence, has touched you, please, don't let it end here. Sparkles, comment below and complete this sentence. I suffered, and I learned that your words may be the light someone else is praying for. Dove, share this video with someone who needs it. Even if they don't tell you, they might be waiting for a sign. Lotus, subscribe to this channel if you believe the world needs more compassion, more healing, and more awakening. Because maybe, just maybe, this story, your comment, your share, could be the beginning of someone else's awakening.